Good morning, everyone. It is Tuesday. We about ready to get started here on the Rutledge Perspective Radio Show live. Getting everything ready. I hope you guys are having a fabulous Tuesday morning.
Well, it's about that time. The Rutledge Perspective Radio Show coming your way this morning at 10 a.m. Central from the historic KCOH TV radio station, The Boost, at the corner of Alameda and Wichita in Houston, Texas. Come join me because we're going to chat about leadership and showing up and getting aligned and getting clear and taking action and voting and voting and voting and all of that stuff. So join me for some great conversation and a few laughs. And when we're done, be sure and head over to your favorite podcast platform or to my website, laurelrutledge.com, and subscribe to my weekly podcast, The Rutledge Perspective Podcast. Episodes drop every Wednesday, and they are short and sweet, commute worthy. And I promise you, you'll get something out of every one that will help you shift your perspective. Because when you shift your perspective, you shift your circumstances. See you soon.
It is that time, everyone. It's that time. I am Laurel Rutledge, your host of the Rutledge Perspective Radio Show, live here on KCOH TV Global Stations, Global Network. I'm fired up today, y'all, so I'm trying to calm my energy down so I don't mess up. But the KCOH TV Global Network here on the corner of Alameda and Wichita in Houston, Texas, the historic 3rd Ward in Houston, Texas. And in this incredible station doing incredible things with an incredible history, which is playing into what we're going to be talking about today. And because I'm fired up, and we're going to be talking about revising history and the impact of that. And I'm going to tie it into leadership and organizations and entrepreneurship and all that kind of stuff, like I always do. So for those of you who have followed me for a while, I always talk about voting. I always talk about, issues that are at hand, and it always ties in, right? But this time is even deeper. Because I realized, and I'm going to tell y'all a story that I haven't told a lot of people, or I haven't told a lot publicly. People who went through it with me understand. But I haven't told it a lot publicly. And so it all ties in together. So we're going to be talking about what it really means to rewrite history and the impact of that, not only on the folks whose history you're trying to rewrite, but the folks that you're supposedly leading and all that good stuff. So we're going to have that conversation today. But I want to start with voting and some issues that are coming up because they tie directly into this rewriting history and what that means for leaders and leadership, especially when you are put in a position, because remember, leadership is about behavior, not about position. And when you are leading people will listen to what you say, but they will believe what you do. And this is the things that are going on now is the reason this confluence of things, of people banning books and trying to keep the population ignorant about what's real and truly rewriting history. I mean, I recognize, because it's been a lot, and I've just had this real heavy spirit feeling, and I couldn't figure out why. And then it hit me this morning. One, as I was just doing my morning meditation and prayer and saying, Lord, just help me figure this out because it's not feeling good. And then listening to Joyce Meyer about, just be who you are, embrace all your weirdness, all your things. And that's been coming through my my certification thing that I'm doing as well, is, just be who you, and I'm always who I am. What you see is what you get. Now, there are people who know a lot more about me, who are really in my tight circle, who know a lot more about me than others. But who you see is truly who I am. And you will probably be starting to see even more of that coming up, because now, and I have been exhausted, permanently tired. And I've always been one that leans on integrity and truth, even when the truth hurts or the truth is harmful to me, right? It doesn't necessarily put me in the best light. We're going to speak the truth and shame the devil. That's what we're going to do here. And so before I get too fired up, let me go back. Right. We're going to speak the truth here. because what happens to one of us happens to all of us. There are some global elections that are starting to happen. They're not starting until end of the month. So there's one in Central Africa that's happening on the 30th. There's a referendum, and then all the rest start like mid to late August. There are some parliamentary elections. There are some more referendums. There are lots of things happening on the continent and around the world. So all of those elections and kind of things start around the August timeframe. We have here in the U.S. primaries starting, recall elections starting, special elections starting, all of those kind of things leading up to some November elections here in the off year. Um, so I need you to go get registered. I need you to go get registered. I need you to educate yourself. I need you to be mindful. And here's an example. It happened here in Texas. It's about to happen in Ohio. So Jenny, I don't know if you're listening today, but it's happening in Ohio. There is a referendum they're voting on. There's a special election. It's an issue number one. And when I talk about rewriting history and lying to people, this is what I'm talking about. And this is why it's so important, not only that you register and you double check your registration constantly, that you ensure that you remain on the rolls. Once you're on the rolls and you're getting ready to exercise your right to vote, I need you to really read what you are voting for. What does it really mean? Because they write them intentionally vague. So sometimes yes means no and no means yes. Don't let someone else tell you what your vote is going to be. I need you to read it. And if you don't understand it, go to legal aid, go to League of Women Voters, go to some bipartisan area that is going to explain the actual bill to you. So here's what's happening in Ohio. There's an addendum that is trying to come out to remove the ability to have something put on the Constitution, right, with a simple majorities. Now, that has been in Ohio for 100 years, right? Simple majority wins. What that enables people to do is the people of Ohio, with a simple majority, are able to make changes that they want to make. What they're doing in this addendum that would go into effect immediately, is say you have to have 60% of the vote. Now, what they're not saying, and the argument is, well, we need to make sure that there's more people. There's really the will of the people. There should be more of a hurdle to make changes to the Constitution. All sounds real good, right? But you got to dig deeper. You can't take stuff as surface. What's deeper is that the people of Ohio have some things that they want to put on the ballot around reproductive rights, voting rights, and some other things. And if this amendment passes, those things will not be on the ballot. So what this really is about, and one of their senators said this is 100% about pro-life, about anti-abortion. That's what he said. That was his quote, that he has now stepped back because now he's trying to run for Senate. So this is not about protecting the Constitution. This is not about ensuring that most people, that there's enough people who really want this, because see, 60% of people want women to have control over their own reproductive decisions. 60% of the American people. And most states are now starting, after Roe v. Wade, are starting to pass protections for those rights in the face of the overturn of Roe v. Wade, right? So the majority of American people, if you look at polling, want women to have control over their own bodies. Go figure. We're actually human. We actually can make these decisions. And so this addendum or amendment that they're trying to change would seek to undermine the ability of the people to say, no, we want this on a ballot so we can actually vote on it as a constituency. So I need you to really be reading and looking at what it means to vote yes. When you vote yes on this amendment, you're saying, yes, we want to get rid of the simple majority. Not, yes, we want to keep the simple majority. Yes, we want to get rid of the simple majority. So go back and read whatever you're voting for. Make sure you are reading the detail. Make sure you understand what your yes means. Make sure you understand what your no means, and then vote the way you want to vote. So I'm not here to tell you which way to vote. I'm here to tell you, you need to be very clear on what you're voting for and who you're voting for. Now, let's shift into what we're going to be talking about today, because that's one of the foundational pieces. The other piece is this madness that's happening in Florida with the Satan, and changing this school board that's changing the curriculum to say that slavery actually benefited Black people. Now, I spent the last 24 hours trying to find this letter that I ran across. It was a couple of years ago from a European explorer who wrote a letter back saying, oh my gosh, I'm on this continent of Africa, the riches of the continent, the ability of the people, all of these things are incredible, and we can't let them know that. We have to find a way to undermine these people. This was in this letter, and it was, for those of you who don't know how to write cursive, it would be hard for you to read. That was another thing that happened, right? Undermine the people, make them ignorant. You can't read historical documents if you can't read cursive, so we take cursive out of the school system. I mean, y'all, come on. Anyway, this historical document actually touting what was going on the continent, and that they had to find a way to undermine the knowledge of the people about how incredibly resourceful they were, about how smart they were, about the systems they had set up. Because if you listen to this curriculum that they're planning to deliver in Florida, one would say that people who were brought here unwillingly had no skills. So if you go and you look at South Carolina and all the rice production, all the things that happen in South Carolina, that came from West Africa. If you look at the things that were planted here and grown here before the Pilgrims got here, those were indigenous people. Folks actually know things and do things and have intellect and are able to make things happen without the support, assistance, lifting up, support, giving additional skills by the oppressors. People didn't get smart and develop skills because you deigned them to have them, because you allowed them to pick cotton. So all of that, and that's a whole different conversation that we're going to have at some point, probably on my fireside show, because I am livid. And I refuse to allow somebody to completely erase my very existence. I'm not going down without a fight. I don't know about the rest of you guys, but I'm not going down without a fight, because that is not okay. It's not okay. Because there are things that exist in this country that wouldn't without people who look like me, including how you rotate crops to feed people, including first heart surgery, including the traffic light. Come on, right? And how this ties into leadership is this tendency by those in power to rewrite history to serve them, to rewrite history to protect their fragility. So let me tell you a story. In my last organization, we spun off my particular organization and became a separate company, right? And the CEO was like, we're a startup with 80 years of history or whatever it was. And so that in and of itself was a whole drama. And I could talk for days on the madness around that and the lies that were told. And so a couple of things happened in terms of rewriting history. So because of the way the whole thing happened, right, we had to decide who was going to go with which company and all these kind of things. And so, of course, the last thing that people thought about was HR, because, we don't matter. So the last thing people thought about was HR. But I'm sitting here trying to fight for how do I take just HR VPs and make a department? So I got to bring in payroll. I got to have child development. I got to do all the things, right? And we had a fairly complex payroll. So we hired someone that the parent company wanted us to hire. We hired this organization because they had history with the bigger company. They had history, hired them. And I had team members that were doing this because, hell, I just couldn't do everything. I couldn't do everything and be everywhere. And I still am challenged by trying to figure out to this day, right? 6 years later, how could I have been everywhere? Because I just couldn't have my finger on everything. It just wasn't physically possible. And that meant that it gave room for people who I knew who were on my team, who were reluctant to actually step up and do stuff, and gave them room to just be mediocre. And I couldn't do anything about it. I just couldn't. I didn't have the capacity. So I did what I could. Anyway, we got this vendor, did the whole project, right? Got them ready, and they completely fell down. Completely fell down. Gave us and kept lying about what they were doing. So my folks had to actually cut checks for all of our people in the US, because this vendor who was supposed to do all of that didn't. And then we spent years, at least a year or two, trying to figure out how to get it all done so we didn't have to keep manually doing stuff, right? Because they failed and they lied. They lied about what they could do. They lied about what they were capable of doing. They kept putting the C team on it. And I told them, I'm like, y'all are giving me the C team. And then they were offended, right? Fragility. They were offended. I'm like, I don't care if you're offended. I don't care if you're offended. Because see, I'm paying you to do work and you're not doing it. So get me the A team. Give me the A team. And by the way, you're going to give me some money back. Because we're not doing this. We're not doing this. You're switching the team and you're giving me money back, and we're getting my people paid. Because that's one thing, right? For those of you who want to be in HR, here's what I need you to understand. If you need people to be patting you on the back, if you need people to be showing you love, if you need people to be pumping you up, I need you to not be in HR, because see, it is a thankless job. It's a thankless job, because either the people think you're only out for the company thinks you're only out for the people, right? You are constantly walking that line. So if you don't have the intestinal fortitude to do that, I need you to think about something else. Love, you mean it. HR may not be the place for you. If you just love people, HR may not be the place for you, right? Because there's some things you got to do. So this vendor just completely fell down. And so we're in the battle for this vendor. So the first lie that happened, the first rewriting of history, was the person that I was working with directly on the operations piece of the carve out. And we talked through and went to meetings, because of course I wasn't invited to the meetings because I'm just the person that's going to be running HR for the carve out company, but they were invited. We put all the presentations together and told them this is what we needed to do. This is why we needed to do it. This was all on board. Then when it fell down, all of a sudden it was, no. We told them they shouldn't do their hourly payroll. Well, now that's a lie. And I had to remind the CEO, that's a lie, because you sat in the meeting and we talked about that. We couldn't have done our hourly payroll because we didn't get any people who were doing that. We had to take all of our payroll outside because we had nobody that was going to be coming over. So that's a lie. So don't rewrite that history. Because it failed, don't rewrite that history. And I stood up in front of everybody and said, this failed. This is what we did. I own this. I own this as the head of HR. I own this. But here's what we're doing. No, I own this, full stop. And here's what we're doing. One, we made sure everybody was paid. And number two, because I know we have lost trust, we're getting an outside vendor to come in and audit our entire payroll. If there's money we owe people, we're going to get you paid, and we're going to get you paid with interest, right? We did all the things. And the auditor came back and said, no. It was all accurate. Everything you did was accurate. And by the way, you have one of the most complex payrolls we've ever seen. And this was one of the big accounting firms, right? So we did all of that. So first of all, the parent company lied about what happened. So I'm having to fight that battle of rewriting history. So that was kind of the first kind of nail in the coffin as I was starting to get out of this organization, because I just couldn't do it anymore. I couldn't keep fighting every battle on every front that was about lies, trying to fix lies. I just couldn't do it. So that's the first thing that happened. We got through that. We got payroll fixed. We got some people. We figured out how to keep trucking along. In the process of doing that, right, we formed a compensation committee because we needed a compensation committee. And by the way, for those of you who are concerned, I am talking about my actual experiences. So there's no libel here. There's no slander here. These are actual things that happen. So just so you know. So we had the compensation committee. And during that compensation committee, right, we had audits. This organization audited, and you had to put in when you were going to address things and what the date was. So we did that. But around this compensation thing, we had done the audit, and then we had all these things happen, and we had these things we were going to do, and at what time frame. Got into the compensation committee, and I was like, you know what? We really need to have somebody external do this audit. This cannot be done internally, because our people need to be able to trust that it wasn't us. We actually paid to have somebody else do it so y'all could trust the results, because we know we've lost trust around this payroll piece. So we want somebody else to do it. Absolutely. Full agreement, right? Full agreement in writing, in the notes from the comp committee. Went back to audit. That was global. Went back to audit. Hey, here's what we're going to do. And here's why. Absolutely, we agree. So the deadline that we said we're going to do, we're actually going to shift that deadline until they're done. We are doing it, but just understand we need to shift the deadline because we want this audit in between. Absolutely, that makes perfect sense. Agreement from the head of internal audit, agreement from the global committee, all agreed, right? Several months later, I'm in our global headquarters. I get a call in the evening. Laurel, this just came up. I just got a call from the global CFO wanting to know what's going on in HR and what's going on in US because y'all are failing to meet your commitments on just on and on and on and on. And I was like, wait, what? You said this, you missed this deadline. And I said, so the person who called me, I'm like, you were in the comp committee. You know what we did? That's what you should have said. So number one, I got a leader who is namby-pamby wussy, who wouldn't go back to his boss and say, no, 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 that's not what happened. So that's number one. Once again, Black woman, right, gonna take all of the crap. So the first thing I said was, you were there, you know better. So what did you tell him? Well, stop. So in other words, you just agreed with that, even though you knew it was a lie. Okay, good to know. Here's what really happened, and you know what happened, and here's the details. Well, I said, no worries, I got you. Because see, I know better. I keep emails, all of them. I didn't care about our record retention policy because I also knew in my emails, I wasn't keeping stuff that was going to be a problem for the truth. It may have been problematic for the company. It may have been problematic for an employee, but it was not going to be problematic for the truth. And we were going, any room that I was in, we were going to tell the truth. So I pulled up the emails. So while the global CFO was whining and moaning and calling me all kinds of names, talking about how I wasn't doing my job, I pulled up the email from the head of internal audit that said, absolutely, we agree. This is what should be done. And I forwarded it. All of a sudden I got crickets. What? So what's the problem now, right? Help me understand. Here's what we said. We did exactly what we said. And now y'all are trying to rewrite history. I'm not having it. So here's the proof. Then I got, well, yes, we said that, but when we put some, so what you're telling me is doing the right thing, getting accurate information and acting appropriately is not what the organization wants. What the organization wants is to make sure a deadline is never met. And see, this is what happens when you have multinational, not global companies. Multinational companies, there's a difference. Multinational companies are companies that are that company in that country who just happen to have operations outside. They operate as that country, as that company. They don't operate as global. So I was in a multinational, not a global company, that had a real issue with after acquired information. Now, good morning, Michelle. Now I'm all about let's set deadlines, let's meet milestones. Absolutely, because see what gets measured gets done. I also know that there are times when information comes in later that absolutely impacts what you're trying to do, either the date, the deadline, the overall outcome, something. It gives you a reason based on data to make an adjustment. And I was in an organization that was so caught up in the number or the deadline that they didn't care. The information said, you can't do that. Because heaven forbid we not make a date. That is the dumbest crap I've ever heard. The deadline is more important than doing the right thing. The deadline is more important than making an adjustment. And here's the deal. When you say we're going to have to change a date, automatically people get up and up. Oh my God, we made a commitment. I'm not saying you're not meeting your commitment. What I'm saying is we got a choice. We have new information that says what we've got down and what we said we're going to do makes no sense or is not going to be successful. So we got a choice. We keep doing it and we knowingly fail, or we adjust. And the adjustment has a myriad of things you can do. You can adjust the date. That's the easiest. Or if you are so tied to this date and you all butt hurt because you got to change the date, change the expectations around the date. We're not going to get 12 things done by this date. We're going to get these 4 because see, these other 8 need additional information before they can be completed to the standard that we want to have them completed. See, that's called grown folks actions, adult, professionally mature action. The other is about rewriting history. The other is about negating the expertise, experience, perspective of people who know better, because now your ego's involved, because you're upset because it wasn't you, because you're upset because now you're embarrassed because something didn't go well. Real leaders understand that things fail. And when they fail, you own that failure and you figure out how you're going to fix it and not make that same failure again. That's what leaders do. Egos push it off on somebody else. Egos pretend the failure didn't happen. Egos don't adjust. And that's what we've got going on now. So if you are running a business, or if you are in one of these big companies, especially one of these big old companies that have a real hard time getting rid of folks with bad behavior or changing direction because heaven forbid somebody admit that it wasn't right. If you're in one of those, I need you to keep trying to figure out how to speak truth to power. Because see, that's what I did. And it's one of the reasons why I left. And I say it on my website, right? I always spoke truth to power and I just got tired of fighting. I just got tired. And I made a choice to leave. I made a choice to leave. I could stay and continue to fight. I could stay and continue to try to get people to see the right thing and continue to keep the emails and continue to do all the stuff that you had to do in order to survive with some semblance of sanity in that organization. And don't get me wrong, there were some amazing people in this organization, amazing, incredible people. And because the average tenure when I left was still at 27 years, they grew up with that mess. So they were trained to overlook or deny or maneuver and manipulate through the madness, as opposed to calling the madness what it was, madness. So those who came in and didn't grow up in that madness were like, no, this doesn't make any sense. And so we're going to say it doesn't make any sense. And here's what happens if you're a leader and you're in one of those organizations. Folks like me who are willing to speak truth to power, and not disrespectfully, but definitely clearly. Those of us who are willing to speak truth to power end up leaving. And what do you wind up with? Those same ideas, those same mediocre performers, those same folks unwilling to call it what it is. And any money you're making, anything that's happened is pure inertia. Think about the amazing things you could do. If you're profit driven, the amazing profit you can make that you can give back to your shareholders instead of stakeholders. The amazing profit you can make if everybody was actually doing real good work. If people were actually calling things like they are, so you could actually adjust to what's real and not what's in somebody's mind or ego. If you were actually calling out bad behavior and fixing it or helping those people be successful somewhere else. What if you were actually doing the right thing every day as a leader? What if you were really doing the right thing every day? Calling people on the carpet. And that doesn't mean you call them out in public and you're all nasty to people. That's not what I mean. Because you don't have to be ugly to be candid. But you do have to be willing to have difficult conversations. My parents always taught us, right? You praise in public, you criticize in private. And you own your own stuff. Nobody ever had to tell me, oh, you screwed that up. Because I was the first one that, ooh, that was a mess. Here's what happened. Here's what we found. And here's what we're doing to fix it. And oh, by the way, not on my watch. We're not just pushing paper on my watch. We're not just going to roll over and do things that we know are non-compliant on my watch because the people who are telling us to do it don't know any better and don't have the confidence to actually find out. And I'm going to prove through my transparency and openness that I know what I'm doing. And I'm also willing to compromise, negotiate, do all of the things, partner. I'm willing to do that stuff. But we're going to all be on the same sheet of paper when we do it. My non-negotiable is we're going to speak the truth. That's my non-negotiable. My non-negotiable is we're going to call it like it is. And we're going to own it. We're going to own it. If we screwed it up, we're going to own it. But we're going to make it right. And we are going to continue to make mistakes, but we're not going to make that one again. because none of us is perfect. Not a single person is perfect. Not a single person knows everything. That's why you surround yourself with people who know things different than you know. And why you don't surround yourself with yes people. And these really big organizations that are struggling with that are full of yes people. They've created cultures where it's dangerous to speak the truth, where you are taking your career in your hands to speak truth to power. And again, you don't have to be ugly and nasty and all of that to speak truth to power. Although if you are a Black woman, anything you say that's contrary is going to be seen as mad Black woman. You're being aggressive. You're being loud. I rebuke that too. I don't own that. That's about you. That's your issue. That's not my issue. And I'm not going to own your oppression. I'm just not going to own that, because we are going to talk about what the truth is. And if I have to speak a little louder because you keep interrupting me, I know how not to bring a knife to a gunfight. I know how to be strategic. I know how to make sure that my point is made. And I know how to make sure, you know what? I don't ever have to say, I told you so. And when we get out of here, we're going to do whatever the final decision was, whether or not it was mine. That's not the issue. We're going to do whatever the final decision was. And when it's something that I done told you, as the old folks say, I done told you that wasn't going to work, I don't ever have to say, I told you so. Ever. Because I've already got a plan to fix it. Because I knew what was going to happen. Because, see, your ego was involved and mine wasn't. Because it's not about me. Leadership isn't about me. This is about what we said we wanted to accomplish and what we need to do to make that happen. And that's got nothing to do with me and my ego. What it does have to do with is my skills, my capabilities, my ability to get someone else to use their unique skills to get some things done, my ability to pump people up and move them forward and encourage them to move, encourage them to fail fast, encourage them to try different things. That's what my job is. Leadership is about getting things done by, through, with, and for other people. It's not about you. Leadership is not about you. And rewriting history tends to be about you. That's why it's contrary to leadership. Rewriting history is about control. Rewriting history is about the maintenance of power. Rewriting history is about ego. And organizations that take something that was bad or not what they wanted it to be, or gave someone else kudos instead of them, who rewrite that, are going to reap what they sow. Hello, Twitter. Or now X, although I understand X is actually owned by Meta, so that's going to be interesting, right? That trademark is owned by Meta. Y'all, this is comical to watch. Talk about egos in action. Y'all, let's just watch this Threads Twitter thing happening. We're going to see these folks imploding, right? Because their egos are hurt. Their egos are bruised. Okay? But if you are truly about leading your business, leading your department, leading your company, whatever it is, then you will not allow history to be rewritten. You will revisit it, right? It's called a postmortem. Let's reevaluate what happened, what went well, what didn't go so well. What can we learn from that, right? We either win or we learn, as Nelson Mandela said, right? I don't lose. I either win or learn. I think it was him. You know, you never know on the internet who's really quoted. And I saw somebody attribute it to Nelson Mandela. I will look that up, y'all, and make sure it was Nelson Mandela. But we either win or we learn. And so that whole ability to evaluate objectively, even if that means you have to take a day, take a month, because your feelings are hurt about something that failed, because you know, us type A insecure overachievers don't like failure. We don't do failure well. We don't want to fail because, see, we planned. We have planned, we've executed, we've gotten the data, we've thought of all the little things, right? We've gotten ready. And when it doesn't go well, we are not happy. And so it may take us a minute, but we're going to go back and we're going to evaluate and say, okay, here's what we knew at the time. Here's what we did. Here's what the outcome was. That worked. Ooh, that didn't, because here's something else that came in later that we didn't know about at the time. That's adulting. That's professionally mature leadership. That's leadership, because leadership is not about you. Leadership is about the objectives and goals that you have decided you're trying to meet. Leadership is about the culture and the values and the expectations that you have set. Leadership is about understanding those who don't know history are doomed to repeat it. And that just because you say it didn't happen doesn't mean it didn't. Just because you say that folks didn't have skills when they came over here and they were enslaved doesn't mean that's the truth, because it's not. We know better. And I'm determined to find this letter. I'm going to find it and I'm going to post it on my social. It may take me a little while, but I'm going to find it. Power. What is that saying? Absolute power corrupts absolutely. That's what we're seeing. And Florida, if this doesn't finally make you ready to stand up, I don't know what will. I am just baffled. I'm absolutely baffled. And this is why elections matter. Local elections matter. Pay attention to who's getting on your school boards, y'all. Pay attention to their real character, not the character they try to put up, like this guy in Ohio who's all of a sudden, no, it's not really about that quote I said before wasn't real. I didn't really mean that. No, yeah, you meant it. But now you're trying to run for something else, so you're trying to undo and reel it back. Do not be gullible, folks. Don't be gullible. Don't be sheep. We are not sheep. We are more intelligent than that. We have the ability to think. What we've gotten to be is intellectually lazy. So it's easier to just go take somebody's perspective and just say, well, that must be the truth. Maybe, maybe not. How about do a little bit more work? How about do a little bit more research? How about do a little bit more investigation? Who am I really voting for? Because see, those folks are going to be making decisions for me and for my children or my nieces, my nephews, my cousins, my play kids, right? They're going to be making decisions for these young people. They're going to be making decisions for teachers. These are the same people who have teacher requirements of degrees and master's degrees and all these kind of things, who now all of a sudden say you don't have to have any kind of education to be a chaplain. You don't have to have any kind of education, right, to decide what the curriculum is and what books should be read. Because none of those folks are degreed in curriculum design. And since when did a child's book supporting, promoting, uplifting the child who has hair that looks like mine when it comes out of their scalp, since when did that become indoctrination and fascism and Marxism? People are throwing these words around and they don't even know. They don't know what they mean, but they're parroting the stuff they saw on some of these networks that are all about sensationalism. Let's be smarter than that. And I believe, they say that what the children are our future. I believe these folks coming up are like, we don't know what's wrong with all these old people, but we're not having it. This is just insane. What are they doing? And we're the ones that are going to have to live with it. So no, we're not having that. And see, they're about to start voting. Thank you. They're about to start voting. Please vote, right? But they're listening to all of this, and what we're seeing happen is, again, this now redirection, rewriting of the truth, and creation of ignorant populations. There was a reason why it was illegal to teach a slave to read, because see, if they read, they might actually learn something about what you're really saying and what the truth is. There's a reason that in not allowing them to learn how to read, you picked and chose which verses of the Bible and how you talk to people about it. They didn't get to read the book for themselves because, see, they couldn't read, or at least you thought they could. I saw a post yesterday, and I had read this before. I'd actually read it before. And I've got it on my thing to do some more research too. Public universities were free until Black people and immigrants started going. The bar wasn't required until immigrants, Indigenous people, and Black people started going to law school. Barriers. It's a different kind of poll tax, different kind of Jim Crow. Those are the realities of what we live in. And if I can live it, you can learn about it. If my nieces and nephews can live it, your kids can learn about it. It's not about shaming people. It is about understanding and knowledge and history so we can do better as we go forward. That's what it's about. It's not about shame. And again, I'm not going to own your shame because you're projecting your own insecurities on me. I'm about education and information. Let's get all the information we can get so that we can make intelligent decisions. How about we have an educated population? Because see, if we don't think further down the line, we have got the top post-secondary education system in the world. Now it's outrageously expensive, but it's one of the top in the world, if not the top for a while in the world. But if we keep decimating K through 12 education, there's not going to be able to be anybody that comes out of post-secondary to be able to keep running post-secondary. Long-term impact of short-term decisions. If we are limiting what people can learn and what they know and what they believe and how they can explore and how they can experiment, if we limit that, their ability to do that at the next level is severely limited. We are impacting our very future by being political and egotistical and getting our feelings hurt, because it's not about our feelings, it's about the truth. And as leaders, you should know better. This is why I love, I mean, like fired up in my belly, love working with women business owners who have started these businesses that are purposeful, that make an impact in their community, and they are wanting to do incredible things. I love working with them. I love working with them because they have a vision. I love working with them because they actually care about their people, like genuinely care about their people. I love working with them because there is a way to do both of those things in a manner that allows you to keep building your business and take care of your folks without ingesting and internalizing all the madness. And I love helping them get there. I love taking a business through their strategy and their organizational design to support that strategy. I love taking on that one thing that helps people. I reached out to a former client and said, hey, I want to hear how you're doing. And I would love a testimonial about the work we did together, because it was great for me, but I I would love one from you. And she sent me back the most amazing testimonial. And first, let me know how she was, because I genuinely wanted to know how she was. And she's doing fantastic. It was someone who was trying to figure out how to kind of start dissolving her business. And she ended up merging with another firm. She's a CPA, ended up merging with another firm and was able to take care of her one employee and all this kind of stuff. And has really been able to manage her time better in this kind of trickle down of timing on her time, right, to her retirement. And in her testimonial to me, she's like, you know what? I loved doing it over this 3-month period because it gave me time to do my homework in between, right? She said, but the other thing I loved is you allowed me and helped me think through possibilities and how I could have these conversations that I was dreading having, and how I could do them in a way that was authentic but still compassionate, how I could think about my business and the value of my business in a different way so that I wasn't begging someone to merge with me, but actually making an intentional decision about who I wanted to talk to because I knew what I'd built, right? I mean, it was, as I was reading her message, I was truly tearing up because I'm like, this woman is so amazing. And all she needed was someone to remind her that she was amazing. I'm your chief navigation officer, right? I'm just helping you navigate those spaces. I happen to have some God-given talent around connecting dots, around seeing, things and making plans and being that proper prior planning person. I happen to have had a career that gives me experience in internal audit and accounting and cost accounting, right? And enterprise risk management and consulting and HR and all the things, right? A career that I could not have designed if I wanted to, but has given me a toolbox of skills that enable me to help you navigate those spaces, to navigate that move from founder to CEO, to navigate through a one specific issue that you're trying to get through for your organization and for your people. And I love it. And I love it because when women are making big money, women are making big impact. And that includes women that are working in corporate. And the reason you're seeing so many of them get to senior ranks and then leave is because they're tired of the madness too. But I tell you, If you are a woman that's in corporate America and you are killing it, keep killing it. People are watching you and they need you to be there. And if you have the intestinal fortitude and you can stand it and it's where your heart lies, I say dig in. Dig in. Keep speaking truth to power. Keep showing up, because there is some young woman who is watching you and figuring out how to do it. And show up as you. Don't show up as how you think you have to be because you're in manufacturing. This is especially important if you're in big oil or big chem, because that's a whole nother thing, as they say here in Texas. That's a whole nother thing. Show up as you. You don't have to be a guy. You don't have to show up in all crazy, stereotypically masculine energy. Now, you may need to pull that out every once in a while when it's necessary, when people truly aren't hearing what you're saying. And I'm not talking about code switching, right? We know what code switching is. That's deep. That is truly negating and suppressing who you truly are in order to stay safe. Code switching is about safety. I'm talking about assimilation and modification of behavior when necessary to ensure your point is gotten across. Still authentically you, still who you are. But it's like a t-shirt my girlfriend made for me that says, classy, but I cuss a little. Don't mistake my kindness for weakness. Don't mistake my bubbly attitude for an inability to have a difficult conversation in private and in public. Because I've had that moment where I've stood up in front of executives and said, you know what, I'm done. We're not doing this today. And closed my stuff and sat down. So I'm like, I'm not going to stand in front of all you guys trying to get to a goal that we all said we wanted and have you yell and scream and act like, I'm not doing that. Y'all don't pay me enough for that. And it's an insult. You wouldn't do that to some of these other people sitting around the table, but you feel like it's okay to do it to me. I'm telling you today, it's not okay to do that to me. I'm not having it. And I sat down. And then there was all apologies and all, because see, when you call people on their behavior, they all of a sudden get embarrassed. That's not what we mean. That's not, people will treat you the way you allow them to treat you. And again, I'm not saying you got to all the time. I'm not saying you got to be all crazy. That's not what I'm saying. You need to be you. You want to show up in a way you want to show up, whatever professional, whatever that means to you. Show up authentically. Know your audience, right? As they say, read the room. But you also don't have to show up in a way that allows people to mistreat you. I don't care how much they're paying you. I left intentionally because it was no longer worth it to me to put up with that bull. There wasn't enough money in the world for me to keep dealing with that madness. It wasn't worth it for me. I had done enough fighting. I had done enough arguing. I had done enough, pull the data, show the people, convince. I'd done enough. I was tired. And I realized that we only get this one go around. And I could either spend my life still trying to fight these same people who've been doing it for so long that they didn't know anything different. And even if they knew something different, because they hadn't seen it, it couldn't be possible. It wasn't worth it for me to continue to spend my energy to do that madness. It just wasn't. When I can use my gifts and my purpose to serve bigger and serve people who actually want to make an impact, what? Easy decision. Easy decision. It was a decision for me that was an elimination of pain. I simply was not going to allow myself to continue in that situation that was so painful anymore. Not one more day. Wasn't going to do it. Wasn't going to do it. Because see, I don't do complacent. I don't do, let's just get comfortable. We know, I don't do that. And I will tell you, it is important. If you are struggling right now and you're trying to figure out what you want to do, don't hurt you because you're mad at them. Get strategic. Make a plan. If you're unsafe, I need you to get out. But if you're not unsafe, I need you to make sure you are at the top of the list. You need to take care of you, because see, if you keel over tomorrow, they'll find somebody in your chair. They'll find somebody to do the job, or worse yet, they won't hire anybody else. They'll just spread the work. So you make sure that you don't hurt you because you're mad at them. We're going to do some shout outs here in a minute, because I've been fired up today and I just realized what time it was. We're going to do some shout outs. But I think it's really, really important, y'all, for those of you who are leading people through your behavior or through an actual position. Don't rewrite history yourself, and don't allow history to be rewritten, because it loses, right? The situation, the learning is lost when history is rewritten. People are negated when history is rewritten. People are harmed when history is rewritten. And we give ourselves this now bubble to make the same dang mistakes, which may have greater catastrophic consequences when we rewrite history and pretend things didn't happen. Just don't do it. Just don't do it. It's not worth it. It's not worth it to rewrite history, right? If you are truly around leadership, make sure that you are paying attention to what's going on and how it's going on and what should be happening, and just call it, own it. And then if something was messed up, own that too and do something different next time. That's what leaders do. I am adamant that if you're in my village, if you're in my circle, if you're in my world, we're going to speak truth to power. We're going to call it like it is, and we're going to own it. If we mess up, we're going to own it. If we call something out that's wrong, we're going to own that too. Right? It's just, there's too much mess going on, and I got too much on my mind, and y'all do too, to be trying to make up stuff and try to figure out which lie was told to whom. Stop. Just tell the truth. Speak the truth, shame the devil. Just tell the truth and own the madness. All right, let's do some shout outs.
Okay, Guatemala, South Africa, Bahamas, Mexico, France, Germany, Brazil, Finland.
Love it.
We also have Chili's, Freetown, Nassau, Frankfurt, New Orleans, Chicago.
No love.
Philadelphia, Columbus, Ohio, New York, Jacksonville, Kansas City, Washington, and Houston.
I love it. Thank y'all so much for tuning in today. It is, y'all, these are important topics. These are important topics to really be mindful of what you're doing and how you're doing it. To be mindful of history that's rewritten and the impact it has on people, right? When you pretend that the other person is crazy because you're embarrassed, you're hurting someone. You may be protecting your ego, but you're hurting somebody when you tell that lie. You're hurting somebody when you rewrite it or spin it so that you look better. You are hurting someone. And leaders don't do that, at least not intentionally. And real leaders, when they hurt someone, they figure out how to make it right. When we do things that have unintended negative consequences, we figure out how to make it right. That's what leaders do. Right? I had a CEO a long time ago. He said, look, if we did wrong, we will apologize and we will make it right. Now, if we didn't, we'll see you in court. Right? And I always loved that, because there's power in saying we're not perfect. We're not perfect, but we also aren't horribly wrong either. So don't get crazy. We are going to defend ourselves when we are right, but we are absolutely going to apologize and do the right thing when we're wrong. That I can live with. That is how I operate, right? We are going to speak the truth. I'm going to tell you, when people, good morning, Mama Young, when people reach out to me and I've asked some folks for referrals, right? Because I've got some room in my calendar. I'm looking for some new clients. As I shift into this new, real, like hyper focus on women business owners. And I'll be formally announcing some things here come August, kind of September. I may do a formal announcement in my birthday month, right? So it kind of coincides with something special. But as I send out these referral emails and reach out to people, one of the things I always say, and I mean it, is look, have someone get on the phone with me. I take my referrals very seriously, because I know people don't refer lightly. That's all about relationships. And so if I am not the right person for someone, I don't push just for $1. Not all money is good money. And the referral and my relationship with the person who referred them to me is more important than just $1. So if I am not the right person, or if it's not the right fit, or if it's not the right time, I am okay to say that and refer someone somewhere else, right? Because I've got a great network. I have no problem doing that because I believe it's about service. It's not about me. And when you serve, prosperity will come. When your focus is on how you can serve that other person, then prosperity happens. I believe that in my soul. Now I have to remind myself that every once in a while because we're all human, right? And there are things that are practical, right? That come up and get in the way. But I believe that to the depths of my soul, that when you are in service, when you are walking in your purpose, when you are doing things for the right reason in service of others, prosperity comes. People come to you, right? So, with that note, if you are a female business owner and you are either at a tipping point in your business, you've been doing it for a while, you got up to 150 people, right? And you are trying to like figure out how do I now take this thing to the next level? Get on my website, right? Set up a call with me to talk about the Founders Intensive. It is an investment. It's a full day of strategy, organization and people strategy. It's a full day. Come and talk to me about that, right? You come to Houston, we hang out, we get some real stuff done for you. If you just got some specific things you're working on, you got a real issue that and you just want to dig into that, let's talk about just a 3-month advisory program, right? We meet bi-weekly, like I was telling you about my client. You got time to do the homework, and we get that one thing really solved. If you don't know what it is or what you need, that's why I'm your chief navigation officer. Set up a call. Let's talk about it. And again, if I'm not the right person, I know a lot of people and I can refer you. I got a big Rolodex of people to refer because I am staying in my lane. So I got folks, I got employment attorneys, right? I got HR people. I got other consultants, other coaches. I am happy to refer because the people in my network, I know the amazing work that they do. And if I'm not the right person, I will get you to somebody who is. It is not a problem. But reach out to me and let's have a conversation and see how I can serve you to get you where you want to be. Whether that is directly working with me or me connecting you with somebody that can do that for you, right? All right. This week, I'm also having an amazing person on my Fireside show. I haven't been on Fireside in a while. So this Thursday evening, 7 o'clock Central, I will be on Fireside with Trina Parnham. And we're going to talk about a lot of stuff, kind of this whole burnout thing, this whole showing up thing, what the code switching, kind of all the stuff we talked about today, right? Rewriting history and how that shows up for folks and how we do something different. So I'll be posting this afternoon about that this afternoon, this evening. So already on Fireside, get on Fireside so you can come join us for that conversation because it's going to be amazing. Jump in the audience, ask your questions, get on camera, all the things, right? And come talk to me and Trina. So it's going to be a great conversation. That'll be on Thursday, this Thursday at 7 p.m. Central Time on the Fireside app. So come see me there. And then the podcast will drop tomorrow, Wednesday. And then starting in August, it's going to be a little bit different with the podcast and the radio show. So you're going to see a few little changes coming up in August as we morph for this year number 6 of Laurel Rutledge and the Rutledge perspective kind of thing. So as always, I appreciate y'all showing up. I appreciate y'all spending this time with me. I hope this resonated for you. And I hope you get active and get vocal. Get vocal, whatever that means for you. Get vocal about this stuff that's happening to try to rewrite history and to eliminate the very existence of people. We're just not having it, y'all. We're just not. And those people who are trying to do this are truly in the minority in terms of numbers. They're just loud. They're just loud. We just need to get louder. And that loud can be an action. It doesn't have to be in words. That loud can be an action. But just get visible, get vocal, get educated, pay attention and be intentional with your words and your actions and where you show up and how you show up because you have an impact to make. And I'm here for it. I'm here for it.
Carl Hamilton says hello. Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning. I'm so appreciative that you guys show up and spend your time with me. We're going to have some stuff morphing around in August too as August comes up. Jerry, it's August. I just can't even. So we'll have some stuff coming up in August. So we'll be moving some things around and stuff like that, trying to do some more pop-ups as well, because those are just a lot of fun. So hang in there with me. Send me a DM. I'm on social, Laurel K. Rutledge or the Rutledge Perspective on LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook. I'm even on Threads, y'all, although I'm not out there much. But I'm on Threads. I don't know why I did that, but now you can't get rid of it, or you get rid of your Instagram. If you delete Threads, you delete Instagram. So I'm not doing that. It's the meta version of Twitter. Oh yeah, it's a whole thing. Yeah. So I'm out there. Send me a DM. Let me know what you want to talk about. Go out to my website. Let's get on a call and talk about, hey, if you are a female business owner, let's talk about how I can be of assistance to you. All right, y'all. Have a great week. We'll catch you next week. Take care. Bye bye. Thank you, Michelle. Thank you, Mama Young.